So Kellyanne Conway is ringing warning bells that Republicans are in trouble with young people. Let's talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Mike Greiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. I'm also a lawyer and an academic, and I'm here to help you stand up to the BS of the MAGA crowd. So in an interview on Fox News, Kellyanne Conway is talking about the Biden administration not commenting about Trump's indictment. Let's check it out. There are a few interesting points here.
How you doing, Kellyanne? Nice to see you today. Question for you on this. Is this smart pool or is it not?
Oh, it's not smart at all. In fact, if I were the Biden administration, I would ignore Donald Trump. They're incapable, and start focusing on the 74 million Trump-Pence voters from 2020.
What's interesting is she's saying that they should ignore Donald Trump when, just so you know, before this video came in, they were talking about how the Biden administration was not commenting on Donald Trump's indictment. So they are ignoring him. But let's keep watching.
They've done so much to enrage and very little to engage those 74 million voters who are going to help decide the next president.
Those 74 million voters lost the last election. I would say it's more important Biden making sure that he keeps the more than 81 million people who voted for him. Let's keep watching.
United States. Bill, also, all former presidents and first ladies have been eerily, curiously silent, mostly.
Okay, she just said that we can't ignore Donald Trump, but now she's saying that they're silent. What is it, Kellyanne? This is just one more example of the Fox News ability to say one thing and demonstrate another, but yet people just gloss over it. Let's keep watching.
On President Trump's arraignment this week. And you've got to wonder, it's because if it could happen to one former president, it can happen to sitting and other former presidents and first ladies. 6 or 7 years ago, when people thought it was a good idea, I think it's stupid and unnecessary to have ever paid the porn person $1. When people thought it was a good idea, what was Hillary Clinton doing? She was
Wait a minute, pay her $1? It was $130,000. They really do their best to kind of spin the facts here. Let's keep watching.
Smashing phones and deleting emails and misusing State Department resources. So you've got
boy, I'll tell you, those crimes that Hillary Clinton engaged in, they seem so minor compared to what we saw with Donald Trump, don't they? Let's keep watching.
People out there just this week saying, prosecute George W. Bush and Barack Obama as war criminals. Where does it end? Local prosecutors saying the fix will be in. So I think people are very worried about the precedent, this consent, but electorally and politically speaking, this is 2016 all over again, where everybody pretends they can avert their gaze from Donald Trump, but he is the biggest issue out there. And I feel that this president has not handled it well. Look, when we pivot.
She says that the president should ignore Donald Trump, and yet when they don't comment on Donald Trump, she criticizes him. So what is it, Kellyanne? That being said, I don't necessarily disagree that Donald Trump is the major issue in the election right now. And what it's going to be is people are going to be asked, do you really want to go back to the way things were with Donald Trump? I mean, let's face it, Joe Biden's not perfect. I will be the first to agree with that. But boy, I'll tell you, what a contrast with Donald Trump. And all the polling I've seen seems to indicate that most American voters agree with that position. Let's keep watching.
To issues, then President Trump will be able to say, okay, let's talk about my economy versus Joe Biden's economy.
Yeah, actually, the economy under Joe Biden is actually quite a bit better than that under Donald Trump. You may recall that Joe Biden inherited an economy in absolute tatters thanks to Donald Trump and the whole COVID crisis. And right now, we actually have a lower unemployment rate and higher worker participation than we did under Donald Trump when he supposedly had the greatest economy in the world. But let's keep watching.
Let's talk about Afghanistan and Syria. Let's talk about...
Yeah, let's talk about Afghanistan and about how the fact that Donald Trump kept promising to get us out of there, but then Joe Biden is the one who finally did. But let's keep watching.
Iran and Israel. Let's talk.
Yeah, Iran, about how Donald Trump is the one who caused all the problems by throwing the agreement that we had that would have stopped Iran from getting nuclear weapons out. But let's keep watching.
About the border, crime,
the border, where Joe Biden is arresting more people than Donald Trump was at any point. But let's keep watching.
inflation. So even when you get to
Inflation, which, yes, it has been high, but it's going down now. And the fact of the matter is, most people, when you ask them, what are you more worried about, inflation or keeping your job? Most people will say that they're willing to put up with some inflation as long as they get to keep their job. And that's unfortunately what the choice was. But let's keep watching.
issues, Trump versus Biden, I think Biden will have sort of regretted the fact that Trump did, quote, suck up all the oxygen.
They also don't mention all the things that are other ways to contrast Biden with Trump. Like, for example, how Joe Biden has actually provided leadership on the international stage, or how he hasn't engaged in tax cutting for the very wealthy and efforts to get rid of Obamacare, and how he actually passed an infrastructure act and is not seeking to set the world on fire and is actually making progress in dealing with shifting us away from fossil fuels. And finally, even on the culture wars, which they're so proud of, who stands up for women's right to choose and appoints judges who actually pay attention to what the law says. I think those are things that people will appreciate about Joe Biden, frankly. Let's keep watching.
Okay, that's that. Well, look, it's going to go on for a while, right? There could be other cases that we could be in this for years.
My guess is there probably will be other cases. There will be other indictments brought against Donald Trump, not the least from Georgia and probably also from Jack Smith on behalf of the Justice Department. But let's keep watching.
And we'll see whether or not their position changes over time. And if it does, how does it change? Meanwhile, for Republicans, tough day in Wisconsin. And, you know, for moderates in Chicago, tough day in Chicago. Wall Street Journal, the left wins big in Midwest elections. The GOP's decline in Wisconsin's suburbs is a warning for 2024. That may be the case. And Ronna McDaniel was on with us yesterday. She told Dana this about how she reads those results.
Losing by 10 points, there is a messaging issue, and abortion is still an issue. And we can't allow the Democrats to define Republicans and put millions of dollars up in lies and have it go unanswered, because the lies become the truth if they go unanswered.
So I don't know how you'd address that lies become the truth there, but she said a messaging issue and abortion is still an issue.
Okay, wait a minute. They're for banning abortion. What's the messaging issue? They're for banning abortion. We're for keeping it safe and legal. That's not a messaging issue. That's a policy difference. And how are we lying about them? In fact, if anything, the progressive candidate for justice in Wisconsin was very honest about her position. She said when the law that would have banned abortions came before the court, she would be the deciding vote to make sure that abortion remained safe and legal in Wisconsin. And what's more is she said she would stand up against the gerrymandering that the Republicans have engaged in that state. So, in fact, she was totally honest. What lie is there?
Would you respond to that, or how
There's
would
no
you
question,
strategize that?
and Ron and I are both, yes, Bill, and Ron and I are both 100% pro-life, but we're having a hard time, especially with young people, assuring them that what is being peddled by the left is not true. And look, I saw in Wisconsin this week.
What is it we're saying that's not true? Let's keep watching.
What we saw in Michigan last November, which is young people showing up to the polls in these midterm elections, and yesterday, special election for judiciary, and they're coming out to vote, and they will tell you this is a prime motivator for them. Look,
it is. Abortion is a big problem for Republicans right now, as well it should be. Ever since the decision by the Supreme Court that basically opened the door to states banning it, most people across the country, and particularly young people, are outraged. Let's keep watching.
There's no question that the Democratic Party is radical and outrageous on abortion on demand.
Radical and outrageous? We're not the ones trying to ban it. They're the ones trying to ban it even in cases of rape and incest. trying to ban medication that's been available freely to people for more than 20 years, and trying to criminalize the crossing of state borders to get medical treatment. That's a radical position. That's not our position. That's the Republican position. Let's keep watching, though.
And, very few restrictions or regulations, even those that many pro-choice people say they support. But I thought the candidate for the Republican candidate was very weak in this way. If you are being...
He was weak because he didn't want to talk about that issue. He knew he was screwed when he talked about that issue. There was nothing he could do to defend himself. He had a record of being anti-choice and being in favor of forced birth. And there was nothing he could do to run away from that. It's not a matter of messaging and trying to defend yourself. It's a matter of them being on the wrong side of the issue. But let's keep watching.
Frontally attacked. You must attack in response with facts and with figures. And he didn't do that.
What would they respond with? Saying, well, I'm really pro-life? That isn't what people wanted to hear. They knew that he's pro-life, and that's why they voted against him. But let's keep watching.
I would point out to everybody that on the ballot in Wisconsin this week, voters went to the polls and overwhelmingly supported 2 anti-crime measures, and 8 in 10 voters supported work requirements for childless adults before they get welfare benefits. So
that doesn't matter. They actually attacked Janet Protasewicz on those very issues. And guess what? People said that isn't as important to us as abortion and gerrymandering. So this is a pretty weak argument for them suddenly to claim, oh, he wasn't strong on this. They buried Janet Protasewicz in ads claiming that she was soft on crime. And she still won by more than 10 points. Let's keep watching.
So the Republican candidate for the judiciary underperformed the 2 crime measures that one knows he supports by more than 20 points. Yes, we're being outspent, but Ron is correct on the messaging piece. I just don't think the pro-life movement, of which I'm a member, has figured out how best to assure people that they won't be denied something that's important to them.
But they are being denied it. They're denying them access to abortion, which they want. I mean, this is really one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen. She has a way of saying things that are blatant lies as if they're the truth. I mean, you have to remember, this is the person who made the alternative fact statement. This is not a credible person. And she's claiming the Democrats are lying? What are we lying about? Janet Protasewicz was completely honest where she stood on the issue. It was the Republican who was trying to duck and hide from the abortion issue. And how can they say that something won't be denied to them when they're trying to make it illegal? That doesn't even make sense. But this is the kind of logic that you see on Fox News. And we need to stand up and let people know just what BS it is. Well, if you want to see another video where I talk about just how out of touch Fox News on the abortion issue, check out this one over here. I'll see you then. In the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.